Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and no brick haul this week. Instead, we're going to do something with this guy. So no brick haul this week, and that's because I've actually managed to get through my backlog of packages. I'm sure I'll be doing some more orders in the near future, but until then I'm just going to do videos on a Monday and Friday because making a full Friday length one is just too much for the middle of the week. And today I'm going to focus on this guy, as I said. Now, as many of you all know, I try and incorporate as many series minifigures in my city as possible, and some it's very easy to do so, and some requires a bit more thought. So this is a case in point. Now this is the Skydiver from series 10, and it's quite a fun minifigure. I mean, look at that expression on the face. He's clearly skydiving with his goggles on and his lips all flapping about. So I do like him very much. And he's got his sort of parachute in lime green, which matches his helmet and his hips. So that's all good. But we've got to think of a good way of using him. Now, quite clearly, he hasn't yet deployed his parachute, and we've already got one parachutist falling from the sky in the form of DB Cooper, who's escaped justice and the red jet plane. If you haven't seen that video, do look in my back catalogue. So I thought this guy could be skydiving just before deploying his parachute, and therefore be in midair. Now, the other thing I've noticed about this guy is that he's quite cheap. It seems that he's not very popular for whatever reason. I don't know why. I think he's rather good. So you can get one of these for about £2. So I decided to do exactly that, and I've bought, 5 of them. Obviously. Why would you not want 5 skydivers? Now there is actually a second Skydiver available now. Just came out with one of the hidden side sets, Elf Wago Stunt Plane. That's set 70429. And if you sort of de-ghostify that figure and just make it into a normal minifigure, and you do get the parts to have it in both forms, then it would be somebody who's got a different skydiving outfit. But I thought, well, no, I'll stick with this. I'll have the 5 the same, and then they can all be sort of part of a skydiving club, or maybe even a skydiving sort of display team. Anyway, so we've got that hilarious face and 5 of these guys. So what are we going to do with them? Well, rather than just having him falling from the sky, apropos of nothing, on his own, well, with his buddies, but otherwise on his own, I think we need a plane. And I was thinking about what sort of plane we should have hanging from the ceiling above the Lego room that a lot of skydivers could have jumped out of. And it occurred to me I'd need quite a decent sized plane, and probably one with one of those sort of gangway doors that goes out, or a side door. And as far as I'm aware, I can't think of anything that's smaller than an airliner that's got a side door. So I'll have to go for one with a sort of hatch door at the back. And one such plane is this. Yep, it's the ambulance plane from 2016. And that's set 60116. Now this is quite a fun plane. It's got twin propellers. Nice pilot in there. It's got some of those sort of triangular stickers that if you put them right on the very edge of the piece, they line up perfectly with the red stripes there. And now this set did have ambulance markings on the tail fins and also on the side of the fuselage, and I just haven't put those stickers on. So now it's just a white plane with red striping. Other things it did have, though, was some sort of blue lights for sort of ambulance, sort of blue flashing lights, sort of emergency services lights, both on the back here and here on the wings. I don't know quite why that is, because I'm pretty sure that ambulance planes don't have flashing blue lights, but nonetheless. And I can easily replace those and keep it looking good by putting a couple of grille pieces on the wings. Looking good. And on the back, I have to get this right, so it's green is starboard, isn't it? And red is port. So always remember that, because red is a shorter word than green, and port is a shorter word than starboard, and left is a shorter word than right, and that's how you remember it. So there you go. And I thought, just because this is going to be hanging high, I might add more lights underneath the wings. So we need to get it the same again. So we want a red one on this one and a green one on this one. There we go. Right, so that's looking grand. And then the most important bit is this door. So it goes open there and there, and that allows us to get, in the original set, a large stretcher in there, because somebody on a green motocross bike has had a nasty accident. Now, I didn't like the idea of an ambulance plane in the first place, really, because, I mean, wherever you've had a nasty accident out in the countryside or something, there probably isn't a very large and flat place for a plane to land. So for me, an ambulance helicopter makes a lot of sense, but a plane less so. Anyway, so we've converted our plane now into domestic use, and you can see that it'd be very easy to store a few skydivers in the back and have them leaping out. Now, I'm a big fan of stickers, and although I've got a couple on the wings and I've got a few on the propellers, which I like very much, I still think it looks a bit bare, and I was thinking of getting some tail stickers on this. But as I said before, the ones that came with the set have got ambulance written all over them, and that's just not going to be appropriate. So I looked on my stickers, and one that I had was this with tail fins, and it's very appropriate because it's in red and, well, clear, so kind of red and white when you stick it on a white piece. And these are from Captain Marvel and the Skrull Attack set, 76127. And I think they'll look really good on this with just a sort of generic sort of tail fin marking. Now, the problem with this is that they weren't designed to go on these fin pieces. They were designed to go on the sort of bigger one that didn't have the sort of cross bit at the top and all that. So you can see it's much bigger than this sticker. But I thought if I trimmed it with scissors and just kept the sort of red element of it, then you see that this probably could take it. So I'm going to give that a try. And if I cut it sort of along that line very carefully, I think it will look good still. So I'm going to try that. Right, so I've roughly cut that out. And now for the delicate bit. Very brave of me to do it on camera. I'm going to try and keep that sort of black outline for the red bit and just cut the clear bit off. And when I get to the end, just snip straight across. Right. So I think that will go, because it's still got quite a bit of edging that comes with the sticker on it. I think that will fit. But we'll only know when I give it a go. So let's do it. Always use a sunglasses cloth to clean the area you're going to stick the sticker. Get rid of any dust or maybe any bits of grit that end up underneath it invisible. And you don't want that. Then, or just peel that off camera. Right. So I think I've got to make sure it's very much in the bottom left to start off with, and then it'll stand a chance of fitting. Ooh. Golly, that's a close fit, isn't it? But it does fit. Oh, that's a good result. I've got a little bit of air underneath that edge, but I should be able to get that out. Anyway, there we go. Wow, that looks really smart, doesn't it? Right, I've got to do the other one because obviously it's a twin-tailed plane, this, so I don't want to stick it on the other side of this piece. I want to stick it on the other side of the other piece. So I'll do that one off camera, and we'll look at the plane again. All right, so there's the second one. Very neatly done, if I do say so myself. So we can put that on there and put the tail back on. And now, well, that's worked out really well, hasn't it? It's like that red stripe has sort of continued and then turned a corner and gone up the side, almost like it was meant to be. So now it's fully unambulance planed, if that's a word. Good. Right, so now I think we've got to think about how we're going to pose this to get the skydivers coming out of the back of it, because I think it'd be best to have them all mid-leap. So I think the first skydiver, because this is only the underside of studs, so the first place I'm going to be able to really put a skydiver is on there. So I figure, why not have somebody sort of on the very last step before making the leap. We'll have it so, because this is going to be high up on my ceiling, so you're going to be looking at it very much from underneath. So I reckon having him there, already getting the wind in his face to expose his gums, but I think that's a good place for him. Now the second one would have just leapt seconds before. So what we need to do there, I think, is attach another one to the actual flap of the door with a white 2x2 shoe piece, which is kind of one of these inverted round tile things, and attach him via a piece of cotton. And I think I can do that by just adding cotton to his parachute bit and sort of just hold it in place by the pressure between his head and body. So, in fact, you can see there's a tiny little black hole there. So I think that's where the white cotton's going to come out of. And the only reason why I'm using white cotton rather than fishing line is because obviously it doesn't have to be very strong. And it's probably a bit easier for me to sort of snare between pieces. And with it being white, I don't think you'll be able to see it that much against the ceiling because it's very fine after all. And I've just got this white cotton out of one of those sort of repair kits you get in a hotel room with sort of very short lengths of cotton for mending buttons and so on. Right, so I'm going to add some cotton to him. Okay, so a very short piece of white cotton. Check you can see that, there we are. And it's just coming out that hole, and it's just held on by the fact that, he's kind of squeezed together. And I think if I sort of manage to snare that, it's going to be quite hard to do on camera, sort of snare that on this, and tell you what, I'll take that off, that'll make it a lot easier, won't it? Snare that on the back of this with one of these. Then he'll have just leapt out. Does that work? So by the time we finish this, I want it to look like a sort of baby's mobile, if you know what one of those is. One of those things you hang over a crib, and it's got loads of skydivers, in this case, hanging off of it. I think I might need to redo that so he's naturally facing backwards, because at the moment he seems to be kind of facing that way. It's just a matter of trial and error, really. It's quite hard to get guaranteed right. Every time you get it right and then sort of move your fingers a bit, then it all turns a different way. Sorry if this bit's a bit boring. If I don't get it right this time, I'll do it off camera. But you get the idea. So there's him trapped on that, having just leapt out. And we'll add that door. We'll add that door back to there. And then you can see that this plane is sort of showing two stages already of skydivers leaping out of it. So 1, 2, then we need more people, and I figure that if we hang them from this bit, that'll be the next best place to hang them from. And I'll hang this one even lower so it looks like a sort of natural progression, a sort of 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to take this off and tie another piece of cotton around the middle of this and attach that in the same way to the back of a skydiver. Right, so I've threaded another piece of cotton around here, which I put a knot in. So it's just around the middle of that bar, which I can put back on. And on the other end, here's our friend, skydiver number 3. Fantastic. Now, what I then think is that rather than hanging number 4 and number 5 off something else, because it can't be this, because otherwise they'll all be, in one blob, I'd have to hang them off the ceiling, and it might be a bit hard to get it coordinated very well. So I figured that after skydivers jump, they all sort of link hands and form kind of one of those rings, don't they? Sort of all hold hands and sort of form a circle. So I thought they could be starting to do that. So the 3 that have already leapt, which are going to be hanging even further, so you get the idea. Good fun. Will already be holding hands. Now, Lego minifigures aren't very good at holding hands because a hand can't grip a hand, unfortunately. So what I've done is cheated a bit. And look away if you don't want to hear about cut Lego pieces. You have been warned. Right, well, I got a very old broken bar piece and chopped it into sections that were kind of 2 hand widths long. So then, much like a sort of baton in a race, I could have 2 skydivers sharing this sort of baton and hanging as if forming the beginnings of a circle. And then if I do the same on the other side with another piece of that bar piece in yellow, and I've done yellow obviously so it blends in with the actual hands themselves. Maybe I should have these people looking out actually rather than at each other. I think they look really funny together. That expression is just brilliant. So we want them to sort of have their legs being thrown back with the force of the air. And this might take some fine tuning when I've got them actually hanging from my ceiling, but you kind of get the idea. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And hopefully you'll be able to see these from absolutely everywhere in the city. So I'm just going to have to find somewhere to hang them on my ceiling. Now, this does cause another problem because I have to move around a lot of lighting and camera tripods and stuff like that. And basically I pass them over the tables, over the top of all the buildings and so on. And that makes it very difficult when I've got low hanging things from the ceiling. So I'm going to have to do it quite high up. Which means you won't really get it in the sort of ground shots or anything like that, but and maybe towards a wall a little bit, just to give me a chance of not smashing it every other day with my equipment. So, up to the Lego room. Correction, not up to the Lego room. There's one vital thing I forgot. How on earth are we going to hang this plane to the ceiling? Well, I thought I would hang, and this time I will use fishing line, around these 2 pieces, because this is about where the centre of gravity is. You can kind of do that by trying to sort of balance it forward to back. So you can kind of see the centre of gravity is about here, front to back, and you want to have one on each side so it doesn't just sort of spin on its own axis. So I'm going to basically get some fishing line and just tie it around each of those 2, and then we can push them back into place. And that will be how we hang it from the ceiling. Right, so I've done that. Here we go. You can see they're sort of joined together. Now I wouldn't do 2 pieces of fishing line. You just do 1 and have them joined together, and then you can put the loop through a hook that's stuck to the ceiling. So I can now just squeeze these back on, and the fishing line's not very thick, so it's easy to get it in place. And therefore I can just support its weight like that and take all my skydivers with me. There we go. So I think that's going to look great. I love these colours. They're just going to stand out so well against the ceiling. Yes, and then how do I attach them to the ceiling itself? Well, with these command hooks. So these are by 3M, command, 225 grams for one hook, which I'm assuming this will be fine. I think the tolerance is much greater than that, to be honest. So there's a clear hook, and you get a sticky pad. And you can see that one side goes on the wall, so that'll go on the ceiling, and this side sticks on the bottom of your hook. So you stick the whole lot then to your ceiling, hook it through the fishing line, and that's how I hang all my planes. And these can be removed without damaging your painted wall or painted ceiling if you do them carefully, which I have done, and it does really work. These things are absolutely fantastic, and you can get them in much bigger sizes for hanging heavier things, or just use multiples. So now up to the Lego room. Let's go. So where should we put these skydivers? I thought way above brick Nottingham Castle. It's going to be hard to see, but just there is one of those command hooks. It's a pity about the cracks on the walls. That's just old paintwork, unfortunately. Maybe I should have touched them up before I started doing a Lego room. But anyway, so that's where I'm going to hang the plane. So it's still swaying a bit. But there you can see the display team jumping out of their plane. Looking pretty good. And this is the view from the angle of the door to the Lego room, so the main sort of viewing angle. So you can see right up into the plane and see all 5 of these skydivers. So I think that's looking pretty good. Goodness knows how I'm going to get a good photograph of this for the thumbnail for the video. But there you are. Looking good. And it's way above brick Nottingham Castle. And while we're looking down on this, you can see the vehicle of the day, which is the recent Kayak Adventure Set, which is a nice 4x4 vehicle with a kayak on the roof. And I think that looks really good. I think it looks quite authentic. And I got it at Amazon. And it was incredibly cheap as well, so no complaints there. Great, I'm really happy with that. Action shot. And these 3 all grouped together look quite fantastic. In fact, wow, that's the angle I should go for, isn't it, for the thumbnail? Getting everyone on at once. Great. So as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome Lego videos. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, the next instalment of Modular Mondays. See you then!